Good afternoon. I'm Barry Kassler. I'm the Program Administrator for Stoughton's Community Preservation Committee, and we're here today to dedicate Knight's Walk, which is behind us here, and some of the other public amenities which were paid for by the Community Preservation Fund, paid for by the taxpayers of Stoughton. Today, we remember those who sacrificed for our nation, our veterans, people like my father who proudly wore the uniform so that we can enjoy the freedoms that every American shares in as part of our sacred heritage. We have the freedom to hope for the future, for the next generations of America, of Americans who will inherit what we leave behind. On behalf of the Stoughton Community Preservation Committee, we're grateful that the high school building committee, chaired by T.J. Recupero, who is here somewhere, that's going to the cable. Yep. We're grateful that he approached the committee to seek funding for this because this is a pocket park, and typically pocket parks are places that are often overlooked in towns. They wouldn't have been used for anything in particular, and that's the whole point of a pocket park, to make it into something that is useful, is attractive, draws people out, is a place for people in the community to gather. And we're really happy with the way it came out. And so we're here to dedicate that today. If I could just briefly, some of the other things that the Community Preservation Fund paid for is the lighting for the soccer field, for the utility field, the lighting for the tennis courts, this canopy we're standing under here. Just want to say that working with T.J. Recupero, the town's Community Preservation Fund has provided the means to create this unique space behind me, and we hope it'll be part of the Stoughton community for many years to come. It's now my honor to introduce to you the chairperson of the Community Preservation Committee, Mark Zemanian, to tell you more about the town's Community Preservation Fund and why this project in particular is so meaningful to us. Mark.
Thank you, Barry. My name is Mark Zemanian. I am chair of the Community Preservation Committee. I was not on the CPC when this project was first brought to us, but I am humbled to be a part of this process. I was unable to serve my country in the military due to a medical condition, but I come from a long line of men that did serve this country. My father served in Korea in the Lebanon crisis. My grandfather served my home country of Ireland. I am very proud of those men, and I am humbled by their service, and I am thankful and grateful for their service, as I am to all the veterans here today. When the CPC funded this, from my perspective, when I got involved in it, I saw this as a community piece. The school, the residents here in Stoughton bit the bullet and financed this school, and it's a beautiful school. It is magnificently done. I thank prior superintendents and Dr. Robb, Ms. Miller for all their efforts, the building committee that put this all together and put so many hours, volunteer hours of time in to ensure that our students could have this wonderful facility. Veterans Memorial Field is magnificent. I played once a million years ago, and I'd love to play on a field like this. No more dirt, no more mud, good traction. I just want to thank the community, and I saw this park and the amenities that we were able to provide here at the high school as thanking the community. A lot of folks had to sit through construction and lots of misery, so we saw this pocket park as an opportunity to give back to the community, to thank you all for the sacrifices you made here for Stoughton and for our children. This school and today is about Veterans Day. This field is in memory of our veterans. But I want to remember our children too, because they're our future. They're our future veterans, And there are future politicians and there are future scientists, and they're coming out of this wonderful school. Yes, they would have learned thanks to the dedication from the teachers in any building, but this building, I hope, makes us all proud. So I thank you very much for your time today. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Mike Pizzera, who up until today, I guess is his last day, has been our veteran agent, a man committed to this town. And Mike, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I understand we're dedicating the Pocket Park, but also particularly the bench from the class of 1967. I want to mention 1967. In that era, it was a very difficult time for young men in school. There was a draft going on. I was in the 9th grade in 1967, and I have a recollection, a strong recollection. It might not have been in that year, when the Vietnam casualties exceeded those of casualties in the American Revolution. And then every week in junior high school, and then as I went into my freshman year and my sophomore year, in our social studies classes, in those classes, we would be told what the casualties were every week. You could see it on the news every week. And young men then were being drafted. It was a scary time. And before you know it, I graduated high school in 1971. And then it's like, well, now maybe it's my time for this to happen. Well, there was a young man in Stoughton. His name was Brad Burns. He actually has a memorial square on Morton and Plain Street, sort of where I live, right across from Andy's. And Brad Burns was a Vietnam veteran. He was in Vietnam. And when he came back, he recognized all the issues that the veterans were having with what we now know as post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, it seems after wars, people don't really pay attention to these things until a few decades after, like all the Agent Orange presumptives that came about after the Vietnam War. Well, Brad noticed all the psychological changes, and he was the one who started, to my understanding, the veteran centers that we now have sprinkled throughout the state. And unfortunately, Brad himself had severe psychological problems from his service, and he actually committed suicide, which still remains a problem to this day. But Brad wrote a poem, regarding the circumstances of that time, and I'd like to read it here. And this is regarding young men at that time. Refusing to go was a domestic crime. Sitting still in exile was a moral crime. Going to Vietnam was a war crime. It was a terrible time to be American and young. In fact, it apparently was a crime. So this bench here from the class of 1967, I hope it's all that the younger kids here, when they see that, they can reflect on what those times meant for kids who are in their circumstances now. Well, anyway, thank you all for inviting me. I am very honored to be here. And it's a beautiful park, and I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. I'm not sure who's coming up now.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to introduce now the Superintendent of Schools for the town of Stoughton, Dr. Thomas Rapp.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'm very excited to be here and truly to honor our veterans today. The sacrifices that they make each and every day. I've heard so many speeches today, and I'm always honored and impressed to honor our veterans today. For this Pocket Park, on behalf of the school committee and all of the schools, I wanted to thank the partnership between the Stoughton High School Building Committee and the CPC. It is fantastic for me as a new superintendent to come in and see those kinds of partnerships happening in the town. It is a beautiful transition from Pearl Street to this Veterans Memorial Stadium to see all of the green and ecological friendly environment that the Pocket Park has created, as well as all of the beautiful touches that you heard about earlier, the lights and the canopy, and it really makes all of Stoughton proud to call this high school home. So again, on behalf of the school committee, I'd like to say thank you, and I look forward to continuing those partnerships in the future. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Robb, and now we're going to do the ribbon cutting, and if you would assist us. Sure. The ceremonial scissors.
Say when? Go for it.
Anytime. Thank you. Park is now officially open.
Folks, I want to thank you for being here today. We're not going to take any more of your time, but I really do appreciate that everybody came and joined us for this. And I look forward to cutting ribbons on many more projects in this town very soon. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to also mention Exquisite Landscaping, which has donated for the last half a year. Their service is free to maintain the landscaping as an in-kind donation to the town. They didn't have to do that. They did that out of generosity and their commitment to the town. So thank you all. Thank you all for coming today and being here. And we will have a tour of the park coming up right now.
And folks, if I could just mention one more thing. The class of 2022, the seniors are collecting donations today and selling food at the concession stand. Support them. I was amazed to hear that those kids had to raise their own money for prom, class night. So please, if you could find it in your heart, support those kids. Thank you so much.
Bye.